Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hi, Julia. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. I can't wait for you to share with our listeners everything that you're kind of an expertise on as far as health and wellness goes, but also we're going to kind of touch upon the legal side of things, which we don't always have guests like this. And I think it's going to be a great way for us to kind of deliver this information to our listeners. So if you would, could you share with our listeners what you're currently doing? You do have a health coaching and kind of life coaching background, but also what we're kind of here to talk a little bit more about is the legal side of things and how you kind of coach people that way. So what is it that you do? Share with us.
Exactly. So I'm sort of this rare unicorn that is a lawyer who is also a health and life coach. And Julia, over the past 10 years or so that I've been working with holistic practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, health coaches, I have helped them basically not be afraid of the law and learn what legal steps to take one step at a time as they grow in their business in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming or scary or frustrating. The law can feel so intimidating, I think, to people, even really bright, capable people with lots of education and lots of training. And so what I've always wanted to do is to help people make it easy and make it feel like ease. So when I was in health coaching school back in 2012, all my friends said, but wait a minute, Lisa, you were a healthcare lawyer in a big law firm, and you actually understand health coaching and the law. So can you help us? Can you help us figure out how to use what waivers we need and disclaimers we need and contracts we need and trademarks? And I said, at first, Julie, I said, no, I don't want to be a lawyer again. No, I left the law a long time ago and went and did some other things. But the more I heard all the coaches who were so confused and didn't really feel comfortable walking to a big law firm, I realized that it would be well serving to the health coach population and all of my friends to actually bring the two together. So I call myself a legal coach and attorney and bring a little bit of coaching and legal love into the whole concept of the practice of law. And I do it in a unique way where there's a whole energetic side to it as well.
Yes, which we are definitely going to dive into because I think that's so interesting. And I think it, in a natural sense, the people that are drawn to be coaches, right? Like the kind of personality of women and men who are drawn to be coaches, they tend to be less of that, like really, super into the details of things, right? The legal part of it, where I would be like, I just want to help people. Like, I don't know, somebody else figure out like how I could get in trouble doing it.
Exactly.
I think it's so important for somebody to have that type of support where they're then able to concentrate on growing their business and feel like the other stuff isn't so like scary and big and whatnot.
Exactly. I always say that the whole point of getting legally covered is to allow yourself to show up and then create anything that you want. So you can focus on helping people, like you said, Julia, and getting out there and helping people get to the root cause of the issues going on in their body so their body can heal themselves and they can support health in their body and not have to worry so much about the legal stuff or have that energetic drain feeling always sort of worried in the back of their mind. They're doing something wrong or they're saying something wrong or they're writing something wrong or they'll be investigated and someone will come after them. The whole point is to help have me or another lawyer who they choose to work with, really do the heavy lifting so they can relax and they can unwind and they can just focus on showing up and serving their clients.
Absolutely. Yes. So you just brought up kind of like the energetic drain again, which I think, yeah, absolutely. It just takes a level of like the worry out of the picture. So tell us what your energetic approach to law is to kind of this whole process. I would love for you to expand on that.
Thank you for asking. Well, I'm definitely unique. I always say I have the hashtag not your typical lawyer because I actually believe that the law does two things for us. It's one, first, practical, like we all think of, right? With legal templates and documents and contracts and copyrights and website protection and client agreements and all of those things around the legal protection that we think of in a really practical way to cover your buns, to reduce your risk, to protect yourself.
Mhm.
And as you can see by this lighted ampersand on my wall, or if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see the ampersand, but there's a lighted ampersand marquee on the wall behind me. And the reason why I say and is because I believe the law is also energetic. And obviously, most lawyers don't talk about this piece at all. I align legal steps with the chakras, the first 7 legal steps to take with the 7 chakras, because I believe that when you take a legal step or use a contract or use a website document, you are actually shifting energetically in how you show up in your business. You are showing up with greater professionalism, greater credibility, making it more clear as to where your boundaries are and to what your policies are in your business. And when you use a document with a client or with the world, looking at your website, for example, then you are showing up differently. And it's actually, I believe, raising your vibration and really helping you to be clear about who's going to be drawn into your space and who you would like to be drawn into your space. So when you create boundaries and policies in a practical way, it actually helps you shift energetically to show up at even a higher level, I believe, in your business.
Yes. Which we talk about energy on this podcast all the time and how powerful it is, kind of no matter what we're talking about, right? Like whether it's the energy and the mental capacity of a client to, believe they can heal, or how you show up as a coach to hold space for them to do that. And of course, right? Like the legal part of it would be no different, because that's a part of the business. It's a part of the client interaction. And so could you elaborate on if I know what chakras are. I'm kind of, big into all that information,
Sure.
But if we had a, bunch of listeners who maybe didn't know what chakras were, how it kind of works, could you walk us through a little bit about kind of what it is that you line up with those 7 chakras?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll certainly give a couple of examples. That'll make it easier to understand. So for those who don't know, chakras are energy centers of the body. There are quite a few of them, but most of us focus on mostly the main 7 that go from the root down by your hips, basically lower your lower hips and the base of your spine, all the way up to the crown and actually just above your head. Those are the main 7 are between those 2 points. And they're energy centers that rotate. But what is magical and interesting about them is that they align with different beliefs or different principles that are related to each of the chakras in the body. So for example, the base chakra is called the root chakra, and that's from your base of your spine and your tush, basically down to the ground, all the way through the ground, through your feet. And it's associated with things like feeling grounded and feeling secure and feeling sort of earthbound, right? So you have your feet on the ground. That's sort of where some of those expressions come from. And so one of the things that I think is most important when health coaches are starting out, they often will have either a landing page or a basic website, Julia, where they're putting themselves out into the world, and it can feel really scary. So one of the first things that I recommend legally to align with the root chakra is a website disclaimer. And that's where you have a document linked through the footer of your website, which basically tells people, hey, I'm a health coach. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not giving you psychological advice. I'm not here to replace the advice of your doctor. By the way, any testimonials you see on my page are really just examples. There's no guarantees. It's about helping your website visitors know when they come to your website that what they're reading in your blog post or your sales page or your homepage is not medical advice personalized for them. And it helps to get really clear about who you are and what you do to create that clarity so that you can feel safe and grounded as you share your website with the world. I know when I started out as a health coach, that was really vulnerable to share. You just feel like your whole guts are out there on that website, and having the legal protection in place, a lot of my clients will tell me that they feel safer when they're sharing their website, especially for the first time.
Yes. Yeah. And that whole premise of kind of giving somebody like the security, right? It goes back to like, now they're mentally not worried about all of that. And they probably just show up lighter. Even the information is received differently on the other end, because we know that energy is just, an exchange, right? Yes, so other people can sense our energy, and we're just all part of this, energy field. So yeah, so interesting. I love that you do that. And so you touch upon all 7 at different points of whatever you're drawing up for agreements.
Well, and for another example, people either start with a website landing page or they'll start with their first client, right? Mm-hmm. So the second chakra I align with the client agreement, which is the written document that you need for you to sign and the client to sign when you start working with them, that outlines all of your program description, your payment, your cancellation and refund policies, all of your big disclaimers and limitations of liability. It should be quite a substantive document, more than a couple of pages long, not to scare away your clients, of course. It's all can be written in plain English. It doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming, but you do want to have enough information that you need to actually protect you. But I align it with the sacral chakra, which of course is our seat of birthing new work into the world, working with clients, and also setting boundaries and creating, I call it a loving container to hold and support your client, because it's a place for your client to land. And it has all of your policies in that one document. So if they have to miss a call or they're late, they can read your policy right there in that one document. They don't have to try to find your sales page or look back through emails and figure out what your policy is. It's all right there in the client agreement, sort of lovingly contained in one place, with the clarity for you and your client about how you work together. And one of the things I put in the client agreement that most lawyers don't is an expectation section, because I think that when you are helping set the expectation as a health coach of how you're going to show up on time and with your best efforts and making recommendations and really helping them to be accountable to themselves, then it gives you more comfort when you're setting expectations for the client to also show up on time, not be distracted, and use their best efforts to try to complete whatever the work is that you're doing together. So this whole document can just really hold and support the client relationship. And so I align it with that sacral chakra around boundaries and relationships and birthing, creating, money, abundance, all of it. I always like to say all the good stuff's there in that sacral chakra, besides pleasure and sensuality and sexuality, of course. But that's the second step. So most people start with either the first step, the website disclaimer aligned with the root chakra for their website, or the client agreement, the second chakra, the sacral chakra, for their client interaction.
Okay.
One-on-one.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And we've talked about boundaries too. And I think people can get this sense that boundaries are these hard, scary, I'm going to have to be, really dig my heels in to create a boundary. But boundaries can be super soft and they're good for both people. It's not just that you're setting boundaries against your client, but when your client knows what to expect and knows how the interaction is going to go, it's just as important for them too, to kind of feel like, okay, I get what I'm getting here. I get what this is going to be. And then everybody can kind of relax into doing their work.
Exactly. And I think as we're starting out, boundaries feel scarier, right? Everyone's at the beginning feeling like, I just want clients. I just want to work with clients and help people. I don't want to give them reasons not to work with me with all these rules and policies. But the thing is, to your point, Juliet, it does give actually greater comfort. It's the analogy of, they always say that parents with rules and boundaries actually provide structure for children, even though they might say, I don't want to go to bed. I want to stay up. I want to read another book. The structure is actually beneficial for them in the long run. And the same is true, I think, not that I'm saying any of our clients are like children, but my analogy, of course, is that you are setting the rules. And what I like about that is it creates clarity. Clarity is what creates greater success, because you're dealing with this murky water and murky confusion. You're setting the clear expectations from the start. And then the other piece of it is that when you have a boundary, it keeps you in the driver's seat of your business. This is really important as a health coach, that you are the one determining how long your calls go, whether they can text you between calls, whether they can email you unlimitedly, whether, they can ask you questions at any time of the day and expect you to respond at 10 o'clock at night. You're the health coach. You're the leader of your business. You wear the crown in your business, I like to say, when we get up to the crown chakra. And basically, what you want to do is set the rules and the expectations. But here's the thing. If you have a no refund policy, let's say, and you don't give refunds for your program, for example, then if you do have a client who has financial situation and your heart's going out to them and you really know they're in dire straits and you want to give a refund, you can. Anytime. It's your choice. But what I would prefer is not to say, oh, I give 100% refunds all the time, anytime, even after you've worked with them for 3 months, and then they ask you for a refund. for the whole program. That doesn't feel fair to you. And also, if you've already spent that money or you use that money to pay your bills in your personal life, then you're kind of stuck. And I've seen that happen before. So it's better for you to have a stronger policy on the front end and give yourself permission, if you ever wish to waive it or not enforce it, you have the right to do that.
Yes. Yeah. But the flexibility, which again, I think goes back to, we can kind of think that like law is this like cut and dry, but it can be that, yes, this is your policy, but then it allows you to have a heart and be flexible in points where you feel like it's necessary. And you said one other thing, which I love, which is always like, I'm definitely the more like disciplinary. My husband's a little softer with the kids. And I'm always like, no, when when they know what to expect and there's boundaries, like they feel safer. They're looking for us to like take control. Okay. They're the kids. Exactly. They need to know that like, we got it under control and what we say goes. And that's right. Like it's bedtime. And
same is true for the clients. That's right.
A lot of clients who are coming to us confused about what they're experiencing, or maybe they've been through the medical system and that's been, well, I haven't gotten what I needed there. Why is this going to be any different? Having some sort of clear cut, no, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to go, is comforting and feels a little safer, even though it's a quote unquote boundary.
Yes. And also we know as health coaches that part of the work that we're doing is to actually help people who are coming to us for part of their life to be different, their health to be different, their body to be different, their eating to be different, their lifestyle to be different. Something's going to be different, or else they're just going to have the same of what they've always had, right? But the thing is, when they come to you, they are scared, they're a little nervous, and they are looking to you for that leadership, like you said, Juliet, to set the tone and set the pace. And even though they may be scared to stretch, they also want us to help them stretch. That's why they're coming to you, is to help them make adjustments to their diet or their lifestyle, or figure out what's at the root cause of their issues, or look at the spiritual issues or the emotional issues that are in the way, or look at whatever it is that's going on with them in their body or their life, or energetically, what's going on affecting their body or their life. And so they want you to actually stretch them and hold them to a high standard. They just might balk, and, the inner child in us, or the shadow side might come out and, protest a little bit along the way, but really they're coming for change, and having the structure and the boundaries helps keep them on track. And again, keeps you in the position of deciding if you're going to waive them, rather than have them demanding that of you.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, you mentioned the crown chakra, and we talked about the second one. It might sound like it's your favorite. Do you have kind of a favorite out of all seven where like, where you think like, this is like where the magic happens? And it might be just a combination of all seven.
Ooh, I've never been asked that before, Julie. That's a great question. So I wrote a book called Easy Legal Steps that are also good for your soul, where I outline all seven of them, including like mantras that go with each one, the legal documents that go with each chakra, the belief, my own personal story about whatever's connected to that. And one of my favorites actually is the courage chapter, which is chapter 4, which is aligned with the heart chakra, because cour, as we may know in French, is the word for heart, and the word courage is derived from the word Latin word, but then French word heart, cour. And that I think speaks to me so much, because even though I align core with the website in a lot of ways, we talked about the website disclaimer with the root chakra for when you're getting started. But as you go farther and you have a website that's more built out, and you have blog posts, maybe quizzes, you have lots of sales pages, you have your about page, you have your home page. I mean, you would be surprised. This is a place where people can come and copy and take your work from your website. And Julia, I've had 3 clients tell me that someone has actually copied their bio page, their about page, not the format for the about page, but like the actual story of the about page. And that is crazy. That is just not logical. And it's also not legal. Like, you can't just swipe and take other people's stuff, especially when the website is the heart and soul of your brand, which is why I align it with the heart chakra. And it takes so much courage to put your work out there. I really love the website documents that help you protect and honor your work through the website terms and conditions. And then the sister document, I say the privacy policy, which supports and protects the content people give to you. But being courageous as a health coach is every step of the way, we have to be courageous to create a new program, to create a new website, to do a photo shoot, to do a podcast, to write a book, to do like everything. We write our first newsletter. Remember how scary it was to press publish on that first newsletter, which we then put on the blog post. And that's a lot of work and heart and soul. And you don't want someone to come and take it or copy it or use it. So the website, terms and conditions and the privacy policy help, I think, support you being courageous in putting your true voice out on your website and sharing your work with the world that way.
Yes. Yeah. I love that too. Yeah. I think as health coaches, we tend to be more, we're feelers. We're
heart-centered.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're doing this work, there's, inherently some sort of, you just want to spread good in the world. And so, yeah, as much as we can want to give that, then it's out there, and protecting it can be important. I love that.
Yeah. And we are givers, to your point. Like, people just want to give and give and give and give and give. And actually what comes with that sometimes is, I think, like we talked about a moment ago, with a little bit of reluctance sometimes to put boundaries in place. Sometimes there's a reluctance around, especially for heart-centered and spiritually oriented people who may believe but ideas belong to the collective unconscious. Like, this information is not mine to share. It's coming through me or flowing through me, or I'm just downloading it from the universe, or however people receive their information other than just studying it, right? And training and education. I think sometimes if you're a heart-centered person, you can feel more afraid to say something is mine, because it either feels selfish or self-centered, or somehow you're saying that this takes away from what other people have done, or it feels like it's scarcity mindset. And what I always like to teach around that is that actually what the law provides, and I love this, Julia, is that we are allowed to each own and claim, energetically and legally claim, our own brand, our own work, our own words, and our own unique expression of something. So when you're putting your website out there, or maybe you have a tagline or a brand name or a logo or something that you really love, you're allowed to protect and honor that and claim it and own the rights to those words or those pictures or images or whatever, without doing it in a way that prevents other people from creating their own brands and their own words and their own websites. It's that you're allowed to honor the work that you've done and the creative, perspective that you have about your work, and sharing that with the world through website protections to protect it, or trademarks to protect it, and other things. But it doesn't have to be done in a scarcity mindset. It's really just done in a way to actually love yourself and love your work and love your brand. And of course, have great respect for other people who love and support and respect their own brands, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can kind of get into this when you're fully immersed in this industry and lots of health coaches, and maybe you're on social media, you kind of can just assume, or at least I get into this position myself where I'm like, I wrote this, but this isn't my original thought that, I don't know, sugar's bad for you, or, processed sugar's bad, right? Like that, I didn't come up with that idea. Sure. I wrote how I feel about it myself, but I can sometimes be like, this is just like a general idea. Everybody knows this. But I think, to your point, if I wrote something that was originally kind of my take and spin on it, well, it's mine. And yes, it's a universal thought, but if you've put dedication into making it your universe, taking the universal thought and making it yours. Yeah. Am I on the right track?
That's exactly right. Yes, exactly. Because especially for the principles in functional medicine or in health coaching, we try to get the root causes of issues. We try to help honor everyone's bio-individuality. Like, there are a lot of themes that we all learn throughout our education, but you're right, Julia, the way that you talk about it is unique. The way you tell your own story is unique. The way that you phrase things is unique. And even though we're all talking about similar themes, we have different lenses through which we look at situations to help our clients or our own lives or our own stories. And you can talk about your own life and your own story, or write about your own life or your own story or your own way of viewing something without taking away at all from the air quote ownership of the universal theory that we all have. And even some universal theories are actually owned specifically by someone. It's just that they're now part of the vernacular that we all sort of no, like sugar is bad, like you said, right, Julia? Someone came up with that at some point, but it's not that phrase itself or that concept itself isn't necessarily legally protected just on the fly.
Yes, right. Yeah. I would like to dive into a little bit because you've mentioned scarcity and abundance and scarcity in kind of a few times. And I think when starting a business, it can kind of be, or even once you have started it, right, and you're, looking for more clients or you're trying to kind of build things, right? Like we can kind of get our goal or our like where we want to head can kind of come from one of the two. We're either looking at it from an abundance mindset or potentially from a scarcity, like I don't have enough, I need more clients, or,
Right.
what do you have like stuff to say around scarcity and abundance? Because I feel like it's something that, would resonate with a lot of listeners.
Absolutely. So I think what I realized I've been a lawyer for 25 years, which I'm now telling you my age, which I'm happy to do. And I've worked in the online space for 10 years doing this work with health coaches. So I have met tons and tons, hundreds and hundreds, and literally thousands of health coaches, holistic practitioners, licensed practitioners, functional medicine practitioners. And it's easy to see, well, why would a client come to me when there's all these amazing people, right? There's all these well-regarded people like Dr. Fraley, like all of the leaders in this field. Mm-hmm. And I think people get worried that either there won't be enough for them or why me? Why me? Am I allowed to be abundant when we have these really great leaders that people could just go to and get all their questions answered? Why am I allowed to have the abundance of a successful practice when there's so many other people who already are or who are already well known? And so those two things I think come up a lot of, is there enough when there are all these people out there? And I believe, yes, there are plenty of people, plenty of clients for everyone. Clients are growing by the day, unfortunately, because as we all know, our food system and our world is a mess in a lot of ways. And people are becoming less and less healthy as opposed to more and more healthy, generally speaking. So the client base will always be there and is growing, sadly, I think in some ways. And then with the abundance side, I talk about this a little bit in my book too, because I really had to struggle around the concept of receiving and stretching my ability to receive. I actually have a framed photo that Julia can see here with me on my desk that says receive with open hands, because I think one of the things that I knew as a lawyer, I was able to have a nice salary as a lawyer, but I worked for a big firm owned by someone else, doing work that they gave me under a big name that wasn't mine. But when it came to me being a health coach or being my own lawyer, it was very scary sort of to say, well, am I allowed to have all of this? Am I allowed to receive all of this? Am I able to receive all of this? And so each month that my income grew and grew, I had to keep stretching my ability to feel worthy to receive it. And I just think both of those themes are so common. When we come from a heart-centered or spiritually oriented place, sometimes we feel we need to be more sacrificial. But of course, and I'm not the first one to say this, it's the opposite, because the more you have, the more you can give, the more you can impact the world. I don't share this a lot, but part of the reason I left the law firm is I worked for 10 years for nonprofit, raising money for health and human services organizations, and raised millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so I've seen the impact of people who have a lot of money, who give so generously to help people. So the more that we all can grow and help ourselves and our families, the more we have to help others, which is ultimately why we're working as health coaches in the first place. So I think there's enough for everyone. And I think we are allowed to receive with love and humility at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to the energetics of kind of like how we approach things, from a business standpoint. Yeah. Wonderful answers. Okay. So if you had to give one piece of legal advice. So if there's a bunch of coaches listening and they're like, well, what would be her top, legal advice? And it could be energetically centered. It could be whatever you want. What would that be to our listeners if we have a bunch of coaches listening?
Yes. So my answer would be, you're not too small or too early to start using legal protection. Some people think, oh, I need to wait. I only have 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 clients. Like, I'm not big enough. I don't need to have that yet. No one's going to come after me. But what I want to offer to you is that no matter where you are in terms of how many clients you have, you are going to want to create a container to hold more. And one of the best ways to do that is to use the client agreement, which is that container of setting forth your program description, what's all included when they come to work with you, how you work with them, what happens if they miss a call, what happens if they miss a payment, all of your main policies, so that you can get that in place early and use it all the way through your practice. But the client agreement is the main document to use, even if you have 2 clients. And the reason for that is because you want to protect your income first. And the client agreement that you sign and they sign with a no refund policy, or if you have a partial refund policy, or even if you have a full refund policy, whatever your policy is fine. You want it to be in writing. You want your medical disclaimers in writing. You want to make sure you're very clear about what's included in your program so that they can be clear they've received everything you promised, and you're very clear that you've delivered everything that you promised, and that you're not making guarantees. I mean, there's just so much that goes into that one document that when you're starting out, use the client agreement, make it part of your enrollment process when they're making their payment and getting ready to schedule that first call with you. They also sign the client agreement, and then you don't hold the first call until you've gotten the client agreement signed in your hands or through your computer or however you do it. You want to make sure that you get that practice going from the beginning, because client income is the most important thing. And just to put a point on that, I had a client who was a well-established coach. She happened to be a business coach, not a health coach, but she's very health oriented. But she had a client paying $25,000 for a program and did not have a client agreement with a refund policy in it. And that client was halfway through the program, had already paid in full, and said, this isn't really working for me. I'm not really enjoying this or getting out of it what I thought, or I don't have time, and I can't do this anymore. And I would like a full refund. And that coach had nothing in writing to fall back on and had to refund $25,000. Even though she had an agreement, it didn't have enough legal language in it to protect her. So that's sort of an extreme example, but she was so heartbroken and distressed, as you can imagine, and just like knocking herself out for not having a clear refund policy. But then I certainly helped her get that all straightened out and use a different client agreement so she wouldn't have to worry about that in the future. And on the energetic side of that, just really fast, when we have someone ask for a refund, I always perceive that as not a time to beat ourselves up, right? I kept saying to her, you don't need to beat yourself up for not having a refund policy. I mean, yeah, it's a bummer. I wish you had had it from the beginning in this agreement you got somewhere from wherever. But what I want is for you to recognize that the way that I tend to look at that is that the universe or God or the higher power of the world is tapping you on the shoulder and getting your attention to say, excuse me, you have a gap here. You have a gap here, and this is a money gap, and we need to close that gap because your business is now going to go to the next level. And we need to close all these little gaps before you go to receive more clients and even bigger clients and make even more money, and serve even more people. But this is my tap, tap, tap on the shoulder to get you to pay attention to this. And so I think she took that all in stride and got it all straightened out and realized I just need to focus on this, get it taken care of. And then her business took off from there because her container was in place and she could relax and worry that no one was going to ever ask her for a refund like that again without her being able to defend her position.
Yes. Yeah. And it's mindset too, right? Like she could have been like, oh, this is, the work, but you spun her mindset to be like, oh, maybe this is a redirection. Just like you said, and we look at those tap taps as like symptoms too, right? Like, okay, somebody comes to us and they have the worst symptoms and they're kind of in despair. And it's like, this is just your body saying time to pay attention. And maybe there's something waiting for you around the corner that you need to be really well to receive or experience. And it can just be a simple mindset shift, which allows us to go, aha, I'm going this way and not that way.
Beautifully said and beautifully framed, Julia, the way you just said that. And that's why I am all about the and. Like the and is so important in how I share about the law, obviously law being practical and energetic, but also to your point, like if something bad happens, there's an and to that. There's something good that can come from that. Like you said, if you just focus on the mindset and the message that it's giving you, and then just pivot and rotate and go close that, fix it. Don't need to beat yourself up, learn from it, just learn from it, give it love and attention and care, and then move forward in the direction that you're going next, and feel safer and more secure, and then more confident and more empowered to go forward because you know you've closed that gap.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's Tony Robbins who always says like life's happening for you, not to you. If you can think of things that are happening, like this is happening for me for a reason and not to me, it kind of takes you out of that victim mindset and puts you in a place of, more power and ability to.
And I love that you said that, because part of the reason why legal documents exist is to allow you to stand. Remember, we talked about the root chakra with your feet on the ground, to feel grounded and to stand tall. Third chakra is about standing tall and taking personal responsibility and registering your business and getting your business paperwork together and things like that as a sole proprietor, so that you can stand tall and feel confident and feel empowered and really show up as the leader that you are and that you're becoming and that you're growing into. That is the whole reason why the legal documents exist. In the work that I do, we really pay attention to the front end, the preventative healthcare, to the drinking the green smoothies and eating your leafy greens and drinking your water and getting your sleep and getting your sunshine and getting your exercise and all the things we do to keep ourselves healthy, supplements and learning what's going on in our body on the front end, so that you have fewer things happen on the back end. And if you have something happen on the back end, you've reduced probably the severity of it because you have the legal documents in place on the front end. Hence my comment before that having a client agreement from day one for your clients is the best step you can take. If you work one-on-one with clients right out of the gate, that's the best legal step you can take to get started.
Yes. Yeah. And I love how you emphasize, like, it doesn't, like, you're not too quote unquote small, right? It doesn't matter whether you have one client or whether you have 10 clients, it's a client. And so having an agreement to move forward is important.
Both to protect your income and then also to help you actually stand as that leader in your business, like you were talking about too, with your right mindset, showing up professionally, showing up with integrity, showing up as the coach that you're going to be and how you're going to go forward. And it does make your clients pay attention in a really good way. Like, oh, he or she's serious. Like they really, this is a business. They have a business. They're really showing up in a way that I need to step up as the client. I need to step up. And that's what you want for your clients, right? I tend to think I don't even think it's a stretch to say using a legal document actually can help your clients step into their own next version of themselves, because you have that container to hold a relationship and to set the expectations so that both you and the client can go forward together and help them rise and heal. And that's the whole reason why you're doing it in the first place.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Could not agree more. I have a feeling that everybody that's listening is going to wonder where they can find you. What I would love for you to tell us again, the name of your book, and then other ways that, you could be reached, whether it's through email or social media or website and kind of all that. But let's start with the book.
So the book is called Easy Legal Steps That Are Also good for your soul. So you can just look up Easy Legal Steps on Amazon, or Lisa Fraley, LasaFraley on Amazon. You'll find it. Or on my website, lisafraley.com/book. That's really easy way to get it. It's like $15 or something, which is pretty remarkable for a lot of legal information, and also my own journey into coaching and entrepreneurship, which I think a lot of clients have told me is really helpful too, because I get it. I totally get it. I know what it is to have one client and to work our way up. I've been there. I've done that as well.
And also to leave, because we have a lot of coaches who have left very predictable high incomes to do something that kind of speaks to their soul. And I think sometimes that can be, exciting, but equally maybe it was a little scary. And to have somebody that's kind of gone through that is helpful.
Yes. So Easy Legal Steps That Are Also Good for Your Soul. Thank you for asking about that, Julia. That's the book. And then what I always love to do is that even though you all are health coaches and you all are really trying to focus on the functional side, the integrative side, really getting to what's going on in someone's individual health condition and health state, and moving them towards more optimal health, I do realize everyone's in a slightly different situation. You're in different states. There's different nutrition laws. There's different expertise that you have, different backgrounds. So I always offer a free 20-minute call with our team that we call a legal chat, 100% free. It's not a sales call. It's really there designed to have you ask legal questions that you have, share more about your business, share more about your information, and then we try to point you towards solutions, whether it's a DIY legal template, and we have 47 DIY legal templates for health coaches and holistic entrepreneurs that we've created over the years, client agreements, website documents, things that we've talked about today. We try to point you toward a legal template or a paid consultation with me, sometimes called a power hour, or maybe even to another attorney if needed. But the free 20-minute legal chat, so many people take advantage of, because when do you talk to a lawyer's team for free, first of all, number one. And then number two, we really want to love you up and help you feel supported and heard and cared for in a way that might be different than if you were to walk into a traditional law firm. So we're happy to help answer your questions. And you can find out more about that at lisafraley.com/legal chat. lisafraley.com/legal chat. Otherwise, the website is a great resource, lisafraley.com. You'll find everything there, my podcast, book information, blog posts, free information, DIY legal templates, and so much more.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Practitioner podcast. I think you gave such valuable information. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear it all, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor, and I'm really thrilled to have shared this information. And thank you so much for caring about the legal parts of business. And all of you health coaches out there, thank you for the work that you're doing in the world and helping people from your heart and sharing your knowledge and expertise, because the world needs your gifts and your help and your support and your knowledge. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.
All of them.
All of them. That's right.
There's never going to be too many, in my opinion.
Every last one. That's right.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Julia. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.